So I thought maybe I'd just stop and do a video real fast, just kind of summing up what all this is real quickly to those who've known me for a long time and haven't really gotten into what I'm doing here. Okay, so I bought three ledgers of death certificates in a thrift shop, and among them is a U.S. Deputy Marshal by the name of Bass Reeves, who very recently was featured in a Paramount Plus series by Taylor Sheridan called Lawman Bass Reeves. And it was based on a series of fiction and then done by Sidney Thompson, and then it was altered even more by the writers, to become a series. And it's not really truth. It's a television series. But then you start to get into the actual history of Bass Reeves, and you realize that it's not necessarily being told truthfully either. One thing I do know is that I have a document that says he is buried in a cemetery in Muskogee, Oklahoma, called Harding Memorial Cemetery. 2.5 years in, after having been into the cemetery and talked to many local people, I do believe that at one point, for sure, he was buried in the cemetery. Now, whether that's changed, I don't know. But I do know that I have a document that says that he was buried there, and I have others that say they've seen a headstone. And so when you look up Harding Memorial Cemetery and you look at the Google satellite image, it is a forest. It's a 7 acres of forest. It has not been upkept or mowed or caretaken since the 80s, late 80s. And even then, not all of the cemetery was being caretaken. It is an all-black Jim Crow era cemetery. It contains several generations of people. Burials were done between 1905 and as late as 1993. There are some incredibly interesting stories associated with the cemetery. And in addition to Bass Reeves being in there, there's going to be a posseman called Cotton, who also would have worked with Bass Reeves. There is Cornelius J. Jones, who is going to be a black attorney who was one of the first, probably maybe the first black attorney to get to orally argue before the United States Supreme Court in 1896. There's another man who was a reverend called Solomon Sir Jones, who established 15 churches in Oklahoma. He was a president of the Black Baptist Association, and he is notably considered one of the most important black filmmakers of the 20th century, 1920 specifically. You'll see his work in museums all across the country and the world. In addition to these men, there are hundreds of other people there who were part of the Indian Territory and kind of what was the predecessor to the Black Wall Street movement, which was just this embracing of the Indian Territory where blacks could come and prosper. And Muskogee was the largest city in the Indian Territory. And so it had a 40% black population in Muskogee County, 25% in the city, had a large black business section. And this cemetery represents men that were ministers and lawyers and doctors and owned cotton gins and were investors, owned banks, insurance companies. The undertakers and the doctors that serve them are very interesting and have careers. And all of this revolves around this collection I have. I have 430 documents. Not just Bass Reeves, but 430 for this one cemetery. And I want to use these documents and this history. I want to tell it to you so you get excited and want to help me fix it and clean it and make it a place we can go visit and learn this history on site direct. Okay, that's what I'm doing.